let me look at it across two lenses. One is in India's context, at least, we have a very huge domestic market. And then there's the international space. So in the domestic space, I think regardless across both these areas, yes, you are right. There is going to be more caution and there's going to be a marked decline when it comes to corporate or business traffic, mainly because of the risks, so-called, which companies expect. Also because of the financial situation for many companies. So this, unfortunately, travel does remain one of those discretionary spends, which might take a hit. So yes, we do expect that it will not come back to the levels of what it was prior to the pandemic. But I think fundamentally there is a need for people to travel from one place to the other when it comes to business discussions or for any negotiations. So while it might take much longer, and we expect at least maybe somewhere around April or May next year is when we might get some semblance of normalcy, at least in the domestic space, again, subject to various other conditions, whether it's vaccines or whether it's requirements from various quarantine requirements and so on. But yes, business travel will, I think, be impacted more when it comes to other kind of travel, whether it comes to leisure or whether it comes to meeting friends as what we call PFR, or visiting friends and relatives.
Right, but how is the domestic market shaping up, Vinod, given the pandemic risk? And you, of course, laid out a timeline there, but how are you managing costs in the wake of weakening demand?
So, as you might know, we restarted domestic operations around 25th of May. So the Indian Civil Aviation Authority allowed all airlines to operate about a third of their capacity. Now, actually, demand has been growing steadily over the last few months. And now the mandate from the ministry is that we can operate up to 60% of so-called scheduled or pre-COVID capacity. So that's a step in the right direction. We've seen some demand coming back. It's a function of a couple of points. I think some of the states within India have kind of relaxed their requirements when it comes to quarantines because they see that the SOPs or the policies that are put in place for domestic travel seem to be working. So, for example, in India, if you want to take a domestic flight, every passenger has to wear a mask. Every passenger is screened before he enters the airport. We, as an airline, Vistara, screens them again before they board. And for people who are occupying a middle seat, there's an additional gown that's given. So there's no contact with the passengers on either side. So there's a whole stream of measures that the ministry has put in place, not just for us, but for all carriers. And we are following that stringently. We started around 20 to 25% of our capacity in May. We are now hitting almost 40%, and we hope to go towards 50% in September. So there has been some increase in demand. Some of it is corporate traffic, a very small extent compared to before. There is some essential traffic, people who are stuck in different parts of the country who want to meet their relatives and friends and their extended families perhaps. And of course, there's a semblance of start of leisure traffic to some points within India. Now, I have to caution that this is all very small compared to what it used to be, but they're all steps in the right direction.